Okay, hello everybody. Hackalong, virtual Hackalong, session number 10. Today, mainly we are going to talk about the multi-DNA architecture and go through leap design and architect, what happened, what did we do, and what does it mean actually. I think it's going to be the good topic for anybody to jump. And then we are going to talk about anchor pattern. There are two discussions, if you remember, we caught because we were running out of the time, that anchor first or a data first. If you do not remember everything, don't worry. The topic is going to be open again. So I'm going to start. Most probably GM knows that anytime just cut me, just intervene, just complete me or correct me. Plus anybody else, please, if there is a question, when I'm sharing my screen, like always, we would go for the shape, something like that. I'm not reading the question. If there is a question, please just jump in. If you have any, if you think you can add something, especially do not wait to the end, okay? It means just come, cut, modify, edit, and etc. So, because GM, I don't have a permission to share my screen.
Oops, let me. Can you try now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. So, guys, right now we are gonna talk about multi-DNA design, and you will see the topic is more than multi-DNA design. So let's start from here, that what does it mean when we create a app? So what's happening and what kind of architect design we can have? When you implement or a developer implements something, actually developer create a DNA code. Can be a template like a class. It means you cannot use it. It is clonable, you can create it, but it is just the hash of the code. You already know that. I'm gonna just make it brief, but if still somebody has a question, I hope it's not gonna really basic, just let me know. We have a code. We assume it's going to be open application, the simple scenario, one application with the one single DNA. What's happening? Actually, let me again come back here. Yes. Then one agent can use this DNA, for example, by installing application. So you can clone this one, application can do, and anybody, any agent, the first one, when cloning this DNA code, you create a universe. The only guy inside that universe, it is the first guy created a universe based on this DNA. Okay, so after that, anybody else join that DNA, it means you are joining that universe. It means it is the simple version. There is a DNA code developer implemented, you have it. Any agent can create a clone of it. So the same application, the first guy create a universe, others just join and you are in the same universe. The first version of Leap was something like that. Mostly a lot of example that we have, we create a one application, one DNA, or we can clone the DNA. This pattern, I think it is the thing we already practice, but I would like to ask, anybody have any question here? It is clear to everybody?
Fancy pictures today.
Yeah, it's continue, don't worry. So,
Hidayat,
yeah.
I would want to clarify one thing,
Yeah, sure.
which is from the perspective of Holochain or Holochain core, or when writing the application, there is actually no difference between the first cloner, the first agent that clones the DNA, and the other ones that join.
Equal. Anybody can do it.
From the perspective of core, it's not like you have your creator and your joiners. It's actually an agent that just installs a DNA. But from the perspective of workflow, that DNA has to be cloned first, and then I have to send you the parameters for it to be cloned or something like that, just to make sure
that is sure. I assume it is clear to everybody, but if even everybody right now have a question, just please ask. It means it is not the topic that who created. Anybody clone this DNA, it means it's already here inside the universe. Is anybody else come to the same universe, they see each other, they can trust each other, and that's it.
A quick question.
Yes.
I would just like to ask a quick question. Versioning. How, like, if your application gets updated, then how do you...
Continue. It is not the time for this one. It's the big deal. Thank you. Any other question? Versioning is a big topic. I'm not going to open right now. Thank you, but it is the fantastic question. So,
Wait, yeah, Martin, are you here?
Yeah, no, it's just like you were talking about creating DNA. Maybe it's the same sort of point. You were just making Gillen, but with instantiating with initial parameters, or what? How do you, is there an official terminology like that? Hidayat said create DNA. You've mentioned sort of initial conditions is what I think of, but
you need to wait for your answer.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other question? So, imagine it is the simple one. Leap we implement was this scenario. Let's continue to see, is there any other scenario that we can use of benefit? There is other scenario that it is the DNA, it is the code, but it is its own, it is not clonable actually. There are, as Martin mentioned, there are something like this symbol, something like that. It means you cannot easily clone this one. There are some property. At first you set and then use this one. What does it mean? It means one agent supposed to come here, get the DNA template. Right now, this DNA was ready to clone and join a universe. But this one, no. First of all, anybody want to join, they are supposed to have this one as a template, as a non-clonable. Then, what you are supposed to do, you are supposed to set some property. It means here, when you set some property, then you have a code, a ready DNA, and ready to clone it. It means this one alone is not working. You need to set some property like agent ID. Okay, fantastic. When you create that one, right now you would receive the final hash code of your DNA, this blue one, ready to clone. And then the rest of the story is gonna be the same. Here, you already joined. But here it can be different. You can set the property, but here you would receive, or there is a possibility here, you can create a God for your universe. It means if you put just your agent ID, it's one of the property, and you would say, hey, it is my universe, and you can create that. Anybody coming here, there is at the background, the shape of the universe, you can shape it. You can, there is something as a global subconscious, as you can see. It can be in our real life, it can be God. So how it can be helpful in that way? Do you remember we had some validation issue? It means query or something like that. First of all, you can, any joining a DNA has a validation agent. Okay, so you can implement some rule based on the things you are mentioning. It means more global. And you can, the people that can clone this DNA can have much more extra knowledge working as a God. If I want to share with you more that what does it mean, how it can be helpful, I would like to share a code with you and return back here. Still, there are something here I would like to share with you, but let me show you the code and what does it mean. Look, it is the lib new version somehow, okay? As you can see, it is the course. Do you remember in the old version, we put teacher ID in the course entry. Anytime when we wanted to create the course entry, we are supposed to compare the signature with the teacher address or agent address to see that the course is gonna be created. It's created by the teacher with the same address. It was the things we implement. But right now, it's working in that way. It means agent who are sending the entry or create entry supposed to be in the property of DNA as a god of the DNA. It means right now we can implement more precise business rule. There is no need to put extra knowledge on some entry. It depends on application to see that this one can how the validation rule is supposed to be working, because the concept of property here, it is creating something like a God, something like a creator or any other thing. It is not always God, any other property. I need to continue, but I would like to ask to see your response and how do you feel, how do you see it? Are you on the same page with me? Should I continue?
Not personally, I'm a bit confused about what the non-clonable DNA template, where that's coming from. And
it is like this, look, it is developer implementing, but they are telling there are some property. If you want to create one instance, you need to set that property. Imagine right now we have a one, you know, we can set the property of DNA, you know this one?
No, that's new to me.
Okay,
I don't know what you mean by that.
But Josh, you were in the DevCamp 6, I think, yeah? Okay.
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
I'm not complaining. No worry. I'm gonna share with you. Don't worry. Look, here it is. Let me see. How can I show you the code of Guillaume? If you would like add something, please just comment.
No, I think that the piece where seeing where the properties are set is going to be useful. Yeah.
I'm going to open the DNA code.
Just a little bigger, Hidayat, kindly. Could you make it a little bigger?
Yes, wait, let me find it and then I will do. Wait.
The properties here would be set in the app.json.
App.json, I was looking for this. Okay. It is app.json. What is this? It is the code developer creating, okay? In this one, in this loop, it is, let me add first of all, open it. Look, I didn't build it.
Hidayat, if you want, I can do that. I have.
You can show. Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, let me stop. Go ahead. Wait.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me stop sharing. Okay, Guillaume is going to show you what does it mean property and explain.
Yeah. So let me share. Okay. So actually, I'm going to show you this is the mutual credit DNA, which has some properties for the social triangulation to work. So this is a normal application. In this app.json, this is like the oops, wait, I'm going to open this in a code editor better. So the app.json is like the scaffolded version of the file. It doesn't contain basically anything. When you build it, though, you get something like this, right? Which is the DNA. This is the DNA.json. This is what gets put and installed in the conductor or whatever. And we can really see the properties. So we can see that we have some zones, the social triangulation zone. And here we can see, this is the code. This is WebAssembly encoded in base. I don't know exactly what base. Maybe it's Exa. It seems, no, it's some base, whatever. And the most important part is this one here, these properties. So these properties are like a hard-coded properties that you set before instantiating the DNA, as Hedayat was saying. And in this case, you would say something like initial members, because this is the social triangulation. And you can set agent address 1, whatever. For now, only 1. And you can say, okay, what else? Not initial members, num of vouchers. And this is the number of vouchers you need in order to enter the network, right? So, okay, whatever properties you put in here, if you're changing the DNA, you're changing the hash, right? So actually, it would be a little like this. This is my DNA, right? DNA JSON. I put these properties, but I can clone the DNA, edit it, which I can do better here actually. And now I want to put agent address 2 and number of vouchers 2. The code has not changed. Like we can call this a template code, but this code without properties, as Hedayat was saying, doesn't work. It needs those properties in order to work, because it doesn't know how to without the properties. But each time you copy the DNA and set different properties, you're creating other DNAs. It's not the same DNA, although it has the same code, properties has changed, so the hash will have changed.
Just a question,
yeah.
sorry, a quick one. So, but you need to recompile the DNA, right? In order to have, no?
Nope. Nope.
Oh,
that's the upside of this. There's
okay.
no developer needed. You can do it dynamically from the UI.
Okay, so the hash is actually calculated from this in the conductor, not like before that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Any question? And we are gonna use this one, and we are gonna continue how much nice and fantastic, actually beauty can come out of this pattern. Actually, when you can have a DNA that you can set some property, it means like you can create your own universe. Actually, with your own setting. It means it is the world with your soul. Actually. Especially if you are going to set your agent address, you will see how we are going to use in a leap. You will see the real example, don't worry. Right now, it is the abstraction.
I had a quick question.
Sorry, sorry.
Go, Kiki, go.
Oh no, I was wondering if your if the original template would be called an anchor, because I was watching the Chimera demo, and they just had a lot of words about it being an anchor and being a root, and then branching into other entries, rehashed entries. So I was just wondering if it's kind of like the same architecture.
Yeah, no. These anchors are a completely different topic when you are inside the DNA. This is called a template DNA. That's the best name I've heard about it.
Anchor we will discuss in the second level of this call. Okay? Wait. Arya?
Just a layman question. The code part that you showed, like, can you just give me, like, is that the application, like the thing that the logic or something? What is the code part?
What is the what? Sorry.
The code part that you had within the social. What was that like? Or that thing?
Actually, it is not a special. It is the WebAssembly that's creating hash, because it is the deep talking. Let's ignore, because we assume anybody knows. It is the WebAssembly code. That's it. That's it. So I think Roberto wanted to ask a question.
Oh no, it was not a question, but more of a comment. This sounds a lot like epigenetics.
Yes, yes, I love you. Yeah, I'm gonna continue exactly this one. Yes, yes. Guillaume, would you please come back to me? So, how it can help before going to leave? Can you see? Just imagine you add a help, okay? Based on the predefined rule, we can add extra validation rule for a validating agent. You will see what does it mean in a leap. I will explain. And also, right now we can say, as Guillaume said, do you know what is that? It is command, you know? Just imagine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When a 10 command, what does it mean? It's going to be 10 commandant. So it is, you are a god of the universe. You can put some rules, some business rule or something. It is the topic Roberto mentioned. Yes, you can put the setting inside. You can put the predefined entry. You can put the content. You can put the genesis block. You can right now, you can query the entry, setting, link for anything you can do. I would like to connect this one with the topic we had, that inside the validation rule, we mentioned that do not query the entry, because you need to be sure that entry exists. Otherwise, the validation section is gonna be repeat here. I hope you remember everything. Yeah, in the validation rule, we mentioned that in entry definition, here we have a problem for query the link, query entry. If the entry is not exist, the subconscious core, actually Holochain core, is going to rerun and waiting to return back that entry. But if you are in a mode that you need to predefine something at first, set some property or create some entry, easily we can rely on it. It means this pattern, it is just about the pattern, can open a really new world to us. It means if you are gonna go to the philosophy that, so theism and atheist, the people just believe there is a God or not God, just imagine you are gonna sit with a guy that believes there is a God inside the universe. So you can have a 10 commandments, you know, you can put some rules, some property, you create application with this culture actually. And let's come back to the Holochain, how the things are working with the leap. So how the things working in the leap. There is a DNA as a course. So for the course, I'm telling that there is a property named ID, unique ID. Just imagine it's going to be ID something like, nobody can easily imagine, just guess it, you know, just something like that. It is the ID. There is a property telling that put a unique ID can make a unique universe. I want to create a unique universe for you. You create a unique universe and you are a creator. You are going to be a single guy here. Anybody can join you. It depends. If they would have this unique ID, by default, nobody knows, like a GeoID, that unique ID. I'm explaining you leap right now. Then you go to your universe, you create a course, module, content, video, anything you would like. And then you would go to indexing pattern and telling, hey guys, GM created a one course, Holochain advanced course with this unique ID, with this DNA. Please go and copy of this DNA, put my agent ID or a unique ID I created. Anybody can do that. Anybody. It means a new guy here. DM can easily tell you, hey, I'm releasing you, I'm telling you you can enter to my world with this ID. This guy create a copy of this one, set the property unique to this one, and reach to this one, and clone it. When you clone it, this guy already joined this one. Because there is a door, there is a comment, there is a rule, there is something. That guy, the door can be easily open, or the door can has a guard. Because easily GM can put a guard like a ticket here. It means, hey, did you pay for that course? Do you have any ticket to enter? I implemented something here. If you did everything, that guy is gonna join GM universe. It is how the logic of multi-DNA work. It means you would like to create a course, fantastic. There is a ready DNA, not clonable. You are a teacher. Generate a unique ID, change this one to, that's it. You generate a new ID, set the property. You create a new universe. Go and create a course, content, video. Just imagine it can be a YouTube channel. It can be anything. Fantastic, create your content. And right now, anybody that you love to join, just tell him, come to my universe with this DNA, with this code. Anybody else can just come to your universe. It's open, you want to guard it, just guard it with a ticket or anything else. Implementing validation rule is gonna be really easy. And if I'm gonna finalize my topic, it can be a scenario as a data access app. It means, or data control, or data access control. It means you can put your data inside some DNA with something and guard it with any rule, any business rule, ticket-based, free or purchase, anything, and guard your DNA. That's it.
Right. Sorry. Yep.
Go.
Yes. So when you're saying that when you clone the DNA and you can be adding like your commandments or your rules, how do you do that without like the non-developer way? If you just clone the let's say the template, like what is the way you actually encode the rules? If I'm staying like in the non-code version.
Yeah, would you like?
If
Okay,
I
sure.
understand correctly, yeah, what you do.
Yeah. So you cannot, if you are not a developer and you don't want to compile the code, you can change the validation rules. But the validation rules can be encoded to expect properties. So for example, in lib, you can say validation rule of create course only if author is property, is the teacher that we get from the property. And this actually passes the determinism test. Validation rules have to be deterministic because everyone in that DNA will have the same properties. And we don't even need to go querying the DHT for that because everyone installed the DNA who has installed the DNA already has those properties in advance before installing the DNA. So we can guarantee that.
Okay, cool. So this is in a way like the epigenetics part, because you are switching on and off basically pieces of the code, validation code, which is already there.
Yeah, and you can actually like think about all the humongous possibilities you can do with that. Like if you add some property that switches off an entire zone or switches on an entire, like you can do any number of things with that small primitive.
So just like some clarification. So when you mentioned about some data access control HAP, so that is something more like a teacher using that kind of an application to create their courses. But then there will be a separate, let's say, this is something I need clarity on. There'll be a separate application where the end user, will be interacting with the courses. So is that how the architecture is? Like there is a separate app for creators, and then it comes into this world where this catch up, just make it accessible for the users.
Hidayat, maybe this question was for you.
Go ahead. I didn't catch it. I didn't understand the question. If you got it, answer, please.
Okay, if I understood correctly, the question is about the data access control H app. Like DNAs are about read access control, so you cannot read data if you're not on that DNA. So if you clone a new DNA and you commit some course data to that, only the people with that DNA will be able to read that. And actually, if you don't say anything, no one will be able to read that because nobody will be able to clone your DNA and join. And then when you share the information, the properties with someone else, they can clone and then they join, and then they gain data access control.
Lily, did you understand the multi-DNA, how live working? Because you asked last week. It is clear right now?
Yeah, it is clear. I think when I asked last week, I was thinking more about the efficiency factor.
What do you mean efficiency? Can you explain more?
When you have to bridge between the DNAs, I guess if you break it into a lot of DNAs, and you have a lot of I guess communication back and forth between the different DNAs. And actually, since we're talking about the multiple DNAs, yeah, I think I know the answer to this. But if two people clone with the exact same properties, they really are the same DNA, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Should I explain one time that what does it mean that look, guys, when we are telling that, just imagine it means when the DNA is created, it means one universe is created and joining here you are as an agent. If another guy cloned the same DNA, it means the DNA, they are going to be contact. It means you join the same universe. You join the same universe. If another DNA, another course you created, it is another universe. When you are coming here, it means clone the DNA code with the same property. If there is no property, as soon as anybody clone, always come into same universe. There is one universe. I would say DNA code without any property, it means final DNA clonable code that cannot be changed, because you need to change something to receive a different hash code of the DNA. If there is nothing as a property to change, it means same universe. Anybody clone that one, install that DNA, it's coming to same universe actually. So if there is a property, you set the property, anybody else that set that property, again coming to the same universe. How it is working in the leap or any solution, even you can think about the YouTube channel. For a channel, create a channel ID and just a DNA with the property of channel ID. Anybody would like to subscribe to your channel, they just need to clone that DNA code with your channel ID. Bling, automatically they are gonna come to your universe. Is that clear? It is a lot of, to be honest, I see a lot of places that you can use the benefit. Is the blogging, is a lot of application.
Actually, the mutual credit currencies, the ability to create your own currency, that is what we are targeting next weeks, is going to use that same pattern. Having a template DNA and then clone with different properties creates different currencies in different communities.
I would think relative to performance, that you could say on the initial clone, like when you're creating a new course, maybe I don't know if there's any overhead in the in the hollow of making a new DHT. But after that, there should be really no performance impact, right? Because it's always, the bridging is always done locally, as I understand it. So it's always you're always communicating between the app and your local conductor. And whether you're going to one DNA or you're going to a different DNA or you go to the other DNA again and you go to this DNA, it's always the same, right? It's all happening locally.
Yes, that's right. And also performance depends whether you bridge at all or not. Like in the case of Leap, right now, like what we were thinking about when we were designing 2 weeks ago with Hedayat and things like that, there's not going to be any bridging between DNAs. Bridging is necessary when you need some to access some data that you don't have, or for two DNAs at the back end to communicate. But in this architecture, from the front end, you can just query different DNAs. So there's really not any performance hit there, because it's just like querying one DNA. Instead, you are querying maybe 2 or 3 different DNAs, but it's the same performance wise.
And Jimmy, about such sort of thing like performance, I think, to be honest, we need to go for the experience. Anything you ask and we would answer in a reality, it's abstraction. We need to go implement test to see what's the performance. My perspective.
Sure. I actually, it was Lily who asked. I was just commenting. Yes.
Ah, okay. So yeah. But it is good. Yeah, yeah.
So, I wanted to ask for some more clarity I needed. So, one is a creator's universe, like the creator's universe with the DNA, where people can create course. So that's the creator's universe.
Sorry, Arya. Sorry, we cannot hear you really well.
Maybe you need to cut your video because your voice is really interrupting. So,
Lily, you wanted to go?
Yeah, I'm not sure this is I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question to ask, but I'm gonna ask anyway. I seem to recall Art mentioning about changing the memory address space allocation, or how they set up the WASM model to make it more efficient. Does that impact the different DNAs that we have? Would those end up going into the same address space, which could maybe reduce the overhead? Sorry, this is just thinking out loud in my head. I'm not sure.
Okay, so the short answer is I don't think so, but we'll see. So from the conductor point of view, two DNAs are two completely separate things. Like they don't have anything in common, even though they only differ in properties. That does imply that you have to spin up two different WASM containers if you are doing two WASM calls. But for WASM, that's extremely fast. So I don't think we need to worry about that in the future. Like right now, maybe so, because WASMI is pretty much very poor performance-wise. But WASMR in the future will make this much better.
Got it. Okay. Thanks, Gavin.
So, is this better?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the thing is, I'm just trying to understand. So the universe. Let's go with that analogy. So when you said the universe, first universe is of the content creators. That's the DNA. If I clone it, then I'm a content creator. That is why I'm cloning that DNA. Then I'm creating a content. At the end of the content is I'm creating a DNA. That is my DNA now with the content. Now, once that has been done, then there is another separate universe of the course users. They will come and join my content DNA to basically then be part of that universe. Is that how this is going to work? Is that a correct understanding of it?
I think so. And the open universe in which everyone is, in this case, we call it lobby, or the lobby pattern, or something like, not specifically in Leap. In Leap, I think it's called course catalog, right? But it's the lobby pattern in which you have an open DNA which everyone can join, and then separate private ones.
So, any other question? Okay, I would like to bring the attention to the last one. I would like to go and target the Asia time, and especially Paspi, and if they are gonna watch this video, and I will send them maybe, but they are supposed to see this one for the last sentences, but because they are busy for a while, they have been talking about group agent. And it was a big discussion. What does it mean, group agent? If Sid watching this video and they are gonna watch, and I think the thing that here, agent centering is me. A group agent, hello Paspi and Sid, I think totally makes sense to me if you put a group agent here before create this clone DNA. If you put your group agent, it means put the list of agent inside the property of DNA, and then you would reach the group agent. So it means, and then implement the business rule for entry, for a validation. If that operation is coming from one of that agent, it is valid. So they would reach a group agent topic. It would be my answer.
Yes, but I think that they want dynamic membership of groups as well.
It means before setting the property.
No, after creating the DNA, being able to add and remove members.
The dynamic of the group agent, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe.
So wait, wait, because this maybe hasn't been explicitly said yet. Those properties cannot be changed. Once you instantiate the DNA, you cannot change those properties. They are hard-coded. If you change those properties, you're changing the DNA.
Just imagine there would be this group agent with a property, with the possibility to create the entry. You know what do I mean? It means just imagine there is a group agent, and the dynamic just add that they can have the group agent as an entry here. Who are supposed to edit that one, this one? It means it's gonna be the combination. By the way, it is just something just coming to just suggestion. I don't think so. We can discuss without them, but the two layer of topic, it means something dynamic. Who control that one? Is one. There is no need to be worried about the validation. That's it. There are some topic. Break, finish for today, or continue anchor second part, anything, Gian, anybody else? What is your suggestion? I'm ready to continue second part. I'm ready to go for a 5-minute break. I'm ready to hug you virtually. Can we continue? What's your suggestion? Should I continue or? This one, I'm gonna just open the topic. Gian is supposed to continue more than me, talk more than me. So I'm just gonna open the topic. Gian?
No, I actually don't have anything.
No, it is, I have. It means, should I continue?
Yeah, go ahead. For me, go ahead, yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next topic. The next topic is this one, plain, anchor pattern, anchor first, data first. What does it mean? It's the anchor pattern. You know the anchor pattern. Kiki, it was your topic that I promised you we are gonna talk about that. It is the anchor pattern. For Kiki mostly and anybody else, what is the anchor pattern? Anchor pattern is we are creating the identity, a regeneratable identity for an entry. It means entry as a content addressable. When you create entry, you can access with a hash, but you should have all the data of that entry to create the same hash that the query. It means you cannot, it's going to be forgotten also. So it means, what does it mean? If we want to query the data, we create the anchor, we go to the anchor. And if I connect this anchor to a star, for example, or my agent, I can query all the data. It is the topic of anchor generally. But we can have two template or two design in an anchor pattern. Anchor first or data first. What does it mean? It is anchor first. It means create first of all, create anchor. When you create anchor with any data, a repeatable string, your agent ID, anything, you receive an address. You create your entry. You put the address of this anchor inside the content entry. And then you would reach to new entry. It's gonna be the address of anchor here. If you update to new one, the address is always the same. You just update the link between this one, actually, this anchor to this one. That's it. It's the current game. It is the current game. It is the version 1 content, version 2. The only thing you are supposed to do, update this one. Anchor first, at first anchor, then content. Data first, what does it mean? You created your entry, you receive your address. You create your anchor, put the address of the entry here, and then create a link. Then you update your entry. Look, you're not changing anymore, anything. You just refresh the link between here and here. It means inside the anchor, always you reference to the first version. You are just updating the link. Maybe you are gonna ask, what does it mean? Both of them can definitely, like any other things, as pros and cons. It was the last topic and last sentence that again we just caught because time was just running out of the time. Guillaume mentioned that we already discussed what is the pros and cons, that when you are putting the ID, I would like to continue here, the last point that we finished. If you create the anchor, you would receive an address, you put the address inside the content. It is like a nonce in blockchain. It means, since it is the unique address, you put this one, it means as soon as there is a new change, if you would like to create a new anchor later, putting the address inside the entry, you're creating identity for this one. That is brilliant. Yes?
Something that's not shown on here is whether you're using create or update when you make the new entry.
I didn't understand the question.
Jim, this is different. This is about how you create the new version of content, and Hidayat is talking.
When you create the new version of content, when you're going from pink to yellow there, or tan.
Yeah, I understand your question.
You could update the pink one to make the tan one, or you could just create a brand new tan one. Two different ways it could be done, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of what we're trying to figure out, what's the best pattern. Like on the anchor first, you could just create the tan thing and update the link, and then the tan and the pink thing are not actually connected. It wasn't a hollow update. It was just a creation of a new entry. Right? I mean, there's no reason to ever call an update. You could just call it create. So I think that's part of the discussion, whether it's going to be a create or whether it's going to be an update. That actually splits it into 4 cases, right? Because we're looking at 2 cases. But when you go to, because when you do an update, there's an automatic link created, right? From the old one to the new one. So like even in the data first case, well now the picture went away, but even in the data first case, you could get to the tan one from the anchor because you have a link to the pink thing, but Holo can resolve that to the tan thing if it was an update that was done. But if it was a create that was done, then there's no way to get there. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not proposing which way it should be done, but I'm just saying it should be part of the talk. Yes?
Jim, I gave you the control. Can you also explain with the mouse movement that I can continue? I know what you mean. Generally, correct me if I look in this pattern. You are telling we have two approach. We can update the entry to the new one, or we can go and create the entry and just create a link to this one. Yes, am I right?
If I understand correctly, this does not affect the choice between anchor first and data first.
Exactly,
so we
there are
have
two
two separate parts.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
one part is anchor versus data first, and another one either we're using update or create. And for the anchor versus data choice, it doesn't matter if we're using update or create on the content entries.
But on the, isn't it true that on the data first side, if you'd have done an update, then you wouldn't even need to update the link because the link would automatically resolve to the new one.
Jim. There are two questions. Let me finish the first one and open this one. Okay? It means that the main topic that first of all we should create the anchor first or entry first. Let's answer the question, and the next one that how we can link, how we can go for the update. Got the point? There are two topics here. Is that clear right now, Jim?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Look, the topic that anchor first, what was the last point that, again, I'm gonna ask you to continue, please, that the last mentioned topic that there are a lot of benefit in the data anchor first. You create the anchor, you put the address, always the address is valid with the same anchor. But the topic, it means it is the identity. It means we created extra identifier for entry outside of it because the entry hash, it is the first identifier for any entry. The topic is for a versioning. It means if I would like to have a version number 2, it means I need to create a one anchor and one content. And you told I have a solution for that. That's it. It means if we are going, for example, in a Git, there is an entry and one user would like to continue the next version, next branch or something like that, and then merge. In this scenario, we need to create branch for anchor and also for content. But for this one, we just need to create a branch, a new branch for content. But you told, if you remember, the last second you told, I have a solution for that.
Yeah.
Please continue. Let me give you the control. Should I stop sharing or?
Yeah, maybe if we are going to talk about that, yes.
Fine. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so just to frame the question, we are only talking about how to deal with updating entries here, right? So I'm basically a very big proponent of the anchor first pattern, except when you want to do Git-like things to the data. It means you want to be able to do branching, you want to be able to do new commits that actually doesn't affect previous versions of the data, because then things change. And if you think about it, Git already does really interesting things. And actually, to explain it, if it's okay with you to explain it, I need to get the underscore protocol specifications to show it, if that's okay with everyone. So let me just get that on. So the underscore protocol, just so you know, is a project I've been working on maybe for the past year. Okay, so here we have basically, we can think about this as entries. And the links between them are either explicit links or implicit links in Holochain. So the interesting part of this is that the permissions and validation rules are shifted. They are not now on the data side. We don't have to validate how the course is updated or anything like that. We have to validate how the branch, so these green little dots are branches, how the branch comes from pointing to this data or this commit to this next one. So actually access control and permissions and authority shifts from the data that's being updated to the branch itself, right? Who gets to update the branch? And then it's sufficient to be able to create new entries and then point to those new entries. And that gives you very interesting properties. This is actually exactly what Git does. Git basically does a Merkle tree. A Merkle tree is a tree in which all objects are hashed, and then a file is hashed, and then a folder is a hash of all the hashes of the file, and we can get to the top of the tree. And then branching a whole set of files is just creating a new dot object, a new green dot here, that points to the same commit, right? Because then you don't actually need to clone all the files. You don't actually need to clone the entries or whatever, because you point to them, and then the access control is on the part of the branch. And then whatever new data the branch will point to in the future, that's up to all the collaborators or whatever to decide. That's my proposed solution for this. If that makes sense, and if not, just tell me, maybe we can go another route to try to explain.
So if I would like to rephrase in a short version, you would prefer anchor first in most cases. But if there is a branching scenario like Git, you would prefer data first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then you have a nice scenario there if you use Git like revisioning or so, which is the pattern of I'm using the same modules as other courses use becomes automatic. Like you can think of branching any entry. You can think of reusing any entry to compose different things, right? So you can think, okay, I can commit a document, and then that document, as it doesn't have any access control attached to it, I can use in a block and just point to that document. And then a wiki can come along and point to the block by hash, right? So you have this. This is basically what IPFS says at the beginning, right? So a DAG is directed acyclic graph in which any object can reuse any other object. So you get these nice reusable object patterns going on that, if you are a little careful about it, can become very, very powerful.
So, Agali, you'll have to clarify. I'm just coming from a layman. So, and going back to the context of Leap, since we are talking about that. So let's say the teacher and the creator, content creator, is going to always start with a person, an individual. So they are my like anchor. They are my anchors who are starting, and they are the ones who are coming into and creating their universe. And you always want them and their whatever their things are to be having within them, like the courses that they're creating are the data first. Is that where you're going with this? Like first, like the person is the anchor, and then.
No, actually in LEAP, I would use the anchor first. Like in LEAP, you have very well defined who is the teacher, and if you're not going to use the Git-like patterns or anything like that, I think it's much simpler to use the anchor pattern.
But then, but going further down, the courses would be like a kind of a version that you always want it to be pointing to the. Data first would be applicable there, no?
I don't think so. Well, it depends. You can use it, but I would prefer anchor first in that pattern. Go, Josh.
Can you give us a few other examples of data first paradigms that might be relevant other than Git? I'm thinking potentially community currencies that you don't want to have a potential autocracy moment and things like that, but I'm not sure because I'm seeing like, anyway, yeah, I'm sure you've got better examples, so I'll leave you.
Not really. Sorry to disappoint you, but
okay, cool.
I don't know of any other scenario other than, and not only Git. So I'm not referring about using Git for source code or whatever. The specific way of branching and aggregating commit that Git does, which is you have a data which is like independent of anything else, and then you have a commit that points to that data, and then you have a branch that points to that commit. And the only thing you are doing in your life is just aggregating new commits and pointing from the branches to those commits, right? And that can be applicable not only to source code, but to documents, to courses, could be to Trello boards, whatever. If we're talking about that pattern, that Git-like pattern, I would use data first. I don't know about any other scenario in which I personally would use data first.
I would continue in that way, that it is the benefit generally from my side. It is really it is obvious, but because we didn't experience a lot of application, I see the position. I can tell you the big difference, but we need to implement more application, because when we are implementing more, we are learning more. It is the things that personally I'm experiencing. The big difference here, that the entry here, if you know, at the end it is the hash, okay? Because the address of anchor is gonna sit here, this one is gonna be outside on the identifier. It means because you put the address here, it may change the behavior of entry, it's bring something like a nonce or something like that. It means the behavior of entry inside, it is not alone. It means you are splitting up these two. It is like one soul in two body, something like that. If in the future there would be, I don't know, but I can imagine there would be something that we would say, hey, this entry for any reason should be pure entry. I'm not gonna put anything else from outside. In that case, putting the address of this one outside can make sense. I don't see right now any example. I can guess we are gonna see more. That's it, my point.
Hadad, if I could ask a question. So do you understand correctly that data first pattern allows for creation of multiple anchors, whereas anchor first pattern kind of requires you to use the same one for all versions of entry? Am I correct?
Not as far as I understand. Go ahead, Hadad.
You need to write it. I need to write your English in a few lines, because it was a complex sentence. I couldn't get it. If you can rephrase it again.
Does anchor first pattern allow you to create multiple anchors without creating a mess?
If anchor first, if here, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
You are creating, so yeah, in the anchor first example, you are creating another anchor. You just deleted
Okay,
that one.
okay, another one, okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to understand in which case do you do that, and if it's even possible, and if it makes sense. So you have the same single anchor, you have its address in all the entries. Is this pattern even usable in the situation where you would need to create another anchor?
If you would like, look, this one, it is the identifier, you know, it means
yeah.
the things you are asking can be conflict. It means I'm on the same page with you. If it means if you are gonna use in the same, it means if you create the entry with the same different color, it means let's put it, it is the entry with the different property, and you put the same, it is here, yeah? You are telling something like that. It means there is no need for different anchor. Or am I right? Do I understand?
Yeah. I was just trying to understand how the data first anchor allows for Git-like implementation, and it does that by allowing you to create a new anchor without any conflicts, because you just have an anchor which points to the entry hash that represents your new branch. So you have anchor per branch.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
Go.
Thank you. That is now clear to me.
Yeah, sorry, just to complete that, you cannot do that on the anchor first pattern because you have already the hash of the first. So let's think about the Git pattern in this case as in the anchor is the branch that points to the data. If you do anchor first, then the data already contains the hash of the first branch. So you cannot create a new branch that points to the same data because it points already to the first branch. So then you need to go to data first because the data cannot know about cannot know anything about the branch. That's
I see. Thank you.
It's starting to make me feel like, you know, imagine if I said, well, I'm going to start this new project and I'm not going to think about source code control for now. We're just going to, you know, just start in and start writing the code. And, you know, if it gets too big, then we'll start to think about source code control, right? And so everybody on the call, all of your flags come up, right? Oh my gosh, no, you should think about it from the beginning, right? You should think about that from the beginning. Just put it under Git. It's easy, right? And from that perspective, it seems like I'm very interested to read Guillaume's document that was just on the screen there. I don't know if you have a link to that document or if that's something that I can check out. It seems that, you know, this is something that maybe we should think about from the beginning, because, you know, 6 months from now, somebody's going to be thinking about, oh, well, I want to work on version 2 of the course, but I have all of my people that are already taking the course and they're all on version 1, but I want to start on version 2 of the course. And we're going to say, oh, well, we decided that we were going to do it this way because we didn't think we were going to need that right now. So we went this other route. But, you know, it's the version control, I think, it's something that's very fundamental. And if it can be built in from the beginning by making the decision the right way, then maybe it should be, even if we don't build the methods to do the branching right away, but at least the data architecture is built in the way that we could. Anybody feeling me on that?
Yeah, I totally feel you. I don't think it's applicable to every situation, but there are a lot of cases in which that's useful for sure. And it's a design choice you have to make at the when you're designing, and it affects somewhat greatly what you are developing there in terms of how you code the update of your entries. Yeah.
Well, we're trying to make a recommendation of a pattern for people to use. And if we can recommend a pattern that, you know, naturally could evolve and not get them trapped later, then maybe that's the pattern that we should recommend. But I would like to read your document, because those little dots, they looked really interesting on the screen, and if you're really, I mean, version control is something that is one of my things I've been doing a lot of for many, many years. I'm really interested to see what you got going there.
I just shared the link in the chat. I'm hesitant to recommend this is the pattern that you should be using, because it really differs on the kind of application you are doing. I don't think you can apply any one pattern to all applications. And I can actually give you an example about that. You know about the wiki, HWiki, that was like published and demoed maybe a month ago. Actually there's no question about it. You have to go anchor first. And why is that? Because pages reference one another through their title. So actually pages are identified by their title. If you think about in Wikipedia, there are no two pages with the same title. A page is automatically identified with the title, right? So then there's absolutely no question. You have to go anchor first. Why? Because if you want to go from one page to the other, and the only thing you have is a title, you need to be able to transform that title to an anchor. That's the anchor first, right? So the anchor only contains the title. You need to turn the title into an anchor, and then that would link to the latest version of the page. So this is why I don't want to like say anything too categoric about it, and I'm sorry about it, but I think it's better to understand the pros and cons of all the patterns.
So you gave a great example, at least for anchor first imagining, HWiki pages, that is the anchor. So then do you have an example for data first where it's implemented and we can imagine?
I don't, and this is what I was telling Josh. I don't know about any good example of data first other than using some Git-like pattern like we were talking about.
Okay, so just quickly, the Merkle tree is the corollary that you were giving for imagining anchor first, and you were giving a corollary for directed acyclic graph for the data first. Is that where you were going?
No, both are things of the data first.
Okay.
Hedayat, I don't know if that furthers along a little bit the conversation and what direction you wanted to explore with it.
I suggest let's have a group suggestion. My suggestion that the content for today is enough. We would postpone the anchor about the creation. It means commit a new entry or update the old entry and how to create a link, because I think it's gonna be interesting and challengeable. I would prefer to go to another one as a fresh. Up to you, up to other. I think for today.
Yeah, I would like to read the document that Guillaume just sent. I would like to hear the Hidayat. If I remember correctly, we were going back a few weeks, maybe 6 or 8 weeks now, to when we first started to talk about the anchor pattern amongst this team here. I had not heard about it before. Everything was anchor first, and Nastasia went back and was starting to code, and it was all anchor first. And then I remember you coming on the call, and you were like, "Oh, wait, data first." So I'm wondering if you could remind me what were your initial thoughts on why you were bringing in the data first.
I just discovering here. I didn't say, wow, let's go to data first. I just told you, hey, there is another pattern named data first. That's it. I'm just exploring any corner inside the DNA. There is no something. I'm just trying to find to multi-DNA, this one, group agent, how the things are working. It is the things I enjoy doing.
So just for more sake of our discussion around data first, would data first be a good thing? Like, for example, William and even Josh mentioned it at some point that like that mutual credit would implement something like data first, where you're tracking from the original thread and then you want to always keep on tracking through from the original thread. Can we expand a little bit and just do brainstorming around it so that more clarity emerges, like on where to use data first?
Guillaume already mentioned data first right now based on our understanding, okay? It is the most usable and proper scenario. It is to start thinking about data first. Then there is a topic of branching, like a Git versioning. Two guys going to continue to branch. You should have one place to point to version and continue. That's it.
So does that maybe make sense for reputation flows if you start by having a community of practice in which there's reputation flows or currency, a mutual credit between people, but then as the potential community starts to diverge from each other and go different ways, maybe in two blobs, then you have this kind of branching thing. Maybe there's a disagreement in the community or something like that. So there's this kind of branching, but one community wants to use the mutual credit, but they don't want to accept it from the other community or something along those lines, perhaps. Just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I would say I wouldn't recommend using branching in those scenarios. I don't think it's useful to be able to branch a transaction or to be able to branch a votes or likes or anything like that, because they are automatically coming from an authority, and they don't mean nothing without the authority behind them. So that it doesn't make much sense to branch a transaction. Everyone can create their own branch of the transaction. I don't think it makes a lot of sense. The transaction itself should contain the authorities signing it in that case.
Makes sense, yeah. Just thinking out loud.
yeah, sure.
And like this is like, since I'm like someone who just doesn't follow still, so I'm sorry. I apologize to everyone for asking these repeated questions. So let's say someone is trying to create an identity, like it's me who's creating my identity, and then first I'm just starting with an image or with just my name, and then in the second time I'm just putting my photo, then I'm putting in my say voice, and then I'm creating my identity for my own thread. Is that a data first?
I don't know. Like I don't know what are a good example of data first, and I don't know if that particularly is a good example.
You've challenged the whole room now, mate. Just gonna keep throwing new
Let's do something.
Can I? Sorry, can I?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Really short. Go ahead, because I would like to mention something. Go.
I actually would like to really understand this data first. But are you saying? Oh, this is still vague. Are you saying like anchor first is you have a way to kind of navigate from the top down? It's almost like organized way, but data first is more like it's like from grassroots up, where you don't know what might be happening down here. And then when you have a better shape that's ready to go into some kind of anchor, like to connect the different loose parts that into an anchor point. That's when you then, in that kind of pattern, then you will have data first, because you don't have a clear picture of, or even I don't know, I mean, a clear picture that how you create that anchor to start with. You have to start with data, and then when it gets to a stage where you need to connect different data points into something existing, then you create an anchor. Is that right? That's when you will be using the data first approach.
Then you are creating a data first. Data has its own hash. Entry has its own entity. There is no need for anything else to give him extra entity like a nouns. It means the entries exist. You just need anchor to point it. That's it. To do not forget it. To query it. That's it. So if you want to go to different branches,
sorry, so you need an anchor to navigate to it. Is that what you mean?
that's it. It means the data is already exists. It's already exists. That's it. There is nothing more. It is the entry. Then you need an anchor. You create anchor. You put the entry address here. You can do whatever you would like. It is like a query. It is like a tool. It is like a helper. That's it. You even put the address to anchor. And the entity, the entry has its own entity. It is unique, standalone in the universe, stay here.
Right.
It is just a mentioning. That's it.
Can
it is here.
Got
the point?
Okay, that's very, very helpful. So my understanding is that basically every entry is, including the anchor, has its own entity. But you're just saying that data first is that these data are the entities themselves. But when you discover that they need to be navigated to via some kind of anchor, that's when you create an anchor.
Yes, exactly.
And some data in the scenarios where you know the data always have to be linked to some kind of anchor in that very well-defined structure, then you do the anchor first. In the data-driven first, these data could be standalone on themselves, and maybe they would always just be discovered and searched through their hash that people already know. But if that's not the case, if these data entry, they have to be connected via some kind of anchor for navigation discovery, then that's when later on they will be linked to an anchor. Is that right?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm missing. If Guillaume or anybody else would, because I would like to be honest, you know what, like it is like a philosophy. I don't want to go to the philosophy, you know. If I would like to recommend you, go relax. If you want to design application, you would challenge it. Right now, you can challenge us 2 hours living without any result, okay? I would like to summarize in that way and leave you alone, because it is like a philosophy. Stay with me here and tell me, Hidayat, God is exist or not. It is a 600 topic nobody can answer, you know? I would like to tell you what does it mean and just say bye-bye, you know? If you design the application, you feel it. You see, oh, anchor first. I need anchor first. Look, data first. You have the entry. It is a standalone, exists, totally unique. It is the anchor pointing this one as a query tool. That is nothing more. The address up here, it is here as a pointing, okay? I don't know where. Right now, we have just one valid scenario, branching. Because if you want to have the different version, you can create a different one. Without pointing, it means without changing this pointer, you can create a different one. It means your hand, it is easier. It is easier. If you go for the anchor first, it means it is the splitting the cell. It means your entry, blink. Because the address of anchor, it is inside your entry. It means your entry is split it up as an identity, it is split it up. Do you know what do I mean? Because the address of anchor, it is inside the entry. It's bringing the identity to entry. It means the logic of entry, it is split it up. You have entry in 2 sections. Because the address of anchor, it is inside the entry. Right now, let me go to opposite side of a yang and yang. Guillaume mentioned, I'm not going to recommend you. I'm going to be yang. I would recommend you go to the anchor. Always go to the anchor first. Maybe you are going to come back and say, Hidayat, I love you. Thank you. Anchor first is working fantastic. I would say, I love you too. Maybe you would come back and say, Hidayat, damn it on you. I needed the data first. And I would say, Lily, come here. Listen to Lily. It was the scenario. We need the data first. I'm ready to that moment. Don't worry. Go for the anchor first. If it is not working, come and share why the anchor first is not working.
Yeah, that helps a lot. Thank you very much, Adaya.
You're welcome. Because we need to finish a topic somehow, otherwise it is endless.
Okay. Well, another. I know we're trying to finish the topic, but I find this too. In the anchor first case, you do not actually have to put the anchor inside the data. You could just have the anchor and have the data, and always just keep 2 pointers, and just always keep 2 pointers. So you don't have to actually put it inside there. That's just another thing to say. I'm willing to get off the topic. I want to know if anybody has found out how to help me get Holochain installed.
So, what else? Guys, to be honest, I'm really tired. To be honest with you. And if there is nothing, let's end up today. Gia?
I resonate with that too, yeah.
I have got no response to my post about how to get Holochain running, other than, because I have to run it as root, and then I can't install the bundle if I run it as root, because I have to say no.
Do you have a forum thread? Did you create a forum thread?
Yes, no, you created the forum thread.
So about the Holo escape you're talking.
Yes, last week you went and you created a forum thread after I said, because I had posted in Guillaume's thread, and then you said, oh no, there should be a new thread, and you went and made the thread.
Okay,
posted something in it, and then I posted something in it, but then it's still sitting there, so I'm just bringing it up because it's a week later. I'm not in a hurry, but.
Okay, I didn't follow it, but let's see. Hey guys, go and reply to that thread. Sorry, Jim, I didn't reply because I didn't have any answer because I was busy. It is the reality. I didn't have time. I was busy. I was busy with my knee. I was busy with a lot of things. But I love you. It is enough, yeah?
Jim, I'll respond. I'll work with you this week to try to get to the bottom of it too. I'm having a problem with Holoscape, and maybe we can get on a phone and grab somebody who knows and we can resolve our problems and maybe help others too.
Gian, is there any guys from core that we can mention him? That would you please? I don't know.
Like I know guys from core that could solve that. I don't know how much time they have. Like we can maybe talk to Paul. Now. We can talk with Paul, and then he can talk to whoever can help us.
I think Jakob was looking as well for the same issue.
Yeah, and Alexander too. Like I don't know what's happening there, but it's a widespread issue. Yeah.
Who is gonna say bye-bye again? Would you going to? Arya, if there is a question, please no technical.
No question.
Please.
No technical. So Jim and Greg, like, is it the Windows installation of Holoscape? If that was the thing, then no, right? Okay. If
mine's Ubuntu, I'm running Ubuntu. I get a core dump if I run, unless I run as root. If I run as root, I have to use the option that disables the installation, no playground, no sandbox. That's what it is. I have to use no sandbox when I run as root, but then it comes up. But with no sandbox, you can't install a bundle. But if I don't run as root, I get a core dump. And I tried. I ran it. I ran GDB on it, and I ran aware, and apparently my executable has no symbols in it. So I have a stack trace of all these beautiful addresses with no symbols, so that's not very helpful. So I put in the forum, if someone has a debug version of that, I would be happy to run it on my machine and get a stack trace out.
Jim, we are going to ping Power to see what's happening. Let's see. There is no promise. Let's do effort. So thank you guys. If there is no topic, I would like to pass through to Guillaume to finish it. Please, Guillaume.
Yeah, I don't know if I have to be like the official ender of these things, but it's fine by me. Like it's amazing to see all of you coming every week. I really mean it, because it's starting to feel like a real close community of developers and people that are enthusiastic about it. And most of you come here almost every week, and I'm really grateful for that. And I'm hopeful about the future in which we can use all the power of the people we have here to advance Holochain, the P2P ecosystem, the commons, and whatever we are here to do. So yeah, thank you so much for that, and see you next week. That's it.
I wanted to say thank you guys as well. That was a really cool session with all the bits and bobs about data versus anchors. That was just fun rabbit holes to jump down.
Thank you, guys. Thank
Okay,
you that
Kiki,
being here.
this is a new place for you, Kiki. Was the call okay? You're going to come back for us next week?
Oh yeah, it was great. Thank you. Yeah, it was just good to just kind of like listen to everyone speak, and maybe hopefully when I really understand it all completely, then I can talk more. But yeah, great. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I love you. We love each other. If you are not gonna be here, you should have a good reason. Don't forget, please. So we will meet each other again. Please, guys, if you have time to review the session, please do it and bring it means do not bury a question. Do not forget your question, But my personal topic, whenever there is a topic I'm thinking about, and then I put it a corner and I go back to it after a few days to see what's gonna come up. And that's why it means do not think that today we talked about the anchor for data for it's finished. That's all. No, talk about it next week. Share that. Oh, I had a question. No worry. Thank you. I love you. See you next week.
First.
Take care all.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, bye.